With the Advantech subfloor assembly, you can be sure that you're building a reputation on something stronger. And the best builders, well, they may always stand apart, but they never stand alone. So ask yourself, are you bringing your A game?
Hey everybody. So today, guess what we're talking about today? We're gonna break out the floor framing plan. You guessed it. Floor framing is the topic today. I love doing floor framing. Say that fast 5 times. Floor framing plans. We're gonna slow it down. We're gonna grab Big Red. We're gonna spread out the floor framing plan, and let's have at it. All right. So broke out the floor framing plan. You can see here, of course, we got Big Red joining us. So, floor framing plan. In developing this plan, a couple things come to mind. Remember, the house, we had a foundation plan that actually had foundation wall that went right there. So that's that main body of the foundation. You can see lightly drawn in here, we have the piers there. We have a pier here, one there. This one finishes with the high pier of that, and the high pier here of that. That pier there. And we have a pier here. And of course we have a pier there, and then we had that one pier here to help carry the deck. We had a tube footing there, and then that concrete slab there. So that's our foundation plan that's underneath. So when you're developing a floor framing plan, now you have to utilize the foundation plan for the first floor as kind of the bearing points around the perimeter, and then we need to develop what's happening inside to carry that floor across those supporting elements. And remember, we also have that 3.5-inch lolly column here that is rising up from that footing, if you remember from the foundation plan. So in doing that, we'll start with this setup here first. You notice we had that lolly column. It was particularly placed in that it picks up this. It's labeled as a girder truss. Now, we used open web floor trusses that were manufactured at a facility and brought out to a very specific length. And you can see those, we have the little joist hangers, it's called out there. So those are hung inside of that girder truss. So basically the top of girder truss and top of truss here are the same. Notice that the stairs, we have a girder truss and a girder truss there, and what that does is that frames out that opening, and we're given those dimensions right there, so our framer knows and the truss manufacturer knows, because my initial framing plan goes to the truss manufacturer for them to do their work. And then we have the little cripple trusses there that are filling in that space. We have the series of open web trusses on the back side and the front side of that girder truss. The other thing of note, notice that in red, I placed the plumbing fixtures that actually go through the floor. And you can see that, yes, the drain just misses, and just misses. So that's a real quick check for me. Also, it lets the plumber know that, hey, we've checked this and we're free and clear of the floor joist. Now, notice that we didn't really care about where the sinks were, because the sinks we can bring down into the cabinet and we can have the luxury of moving that drain over 2 inches or whatever is needed to miss that floor joist. So that's the basement proper. And then we had on the outside, we had those piers. So remember, we have to pick up a number of loads here. So we have not only the floor load, but on this perimeter here, we're picking up a part of the floor. We're picking up the exterior wall load. And you might not say, oh, it's just the exterior wall, there's some weight. Well, that one's probably got a 600-pound window in it. And we also have the roof load. Because remember, on the elevation, this is a roof that is a single sloped shed. So it's getting picked up here and here. So that load has to come down, and because we don't have foundation wall under here, we need to actually pick that up with a beam. And so you can see those are called out there, and they are called out there, series of LVLs. They're 14-inch, and the reason they're 14-inch is so that they can, match the depth of our wooden floor truss, which is a 14-inch deep floor truss. Likewise, over here, very similar to that, you can see we have a series of two 14-inch deep LVLs that are picking up the wall. Now remember, this roof here is getting picked up here and here. So the side here is picking up basically half of the floor load goes to that beam, half of it goes to that beam, and then once it goes into the beam, it goes partially into that pier and partially into that pier. So you can see how the load gets carried and distributed down into these footings, which are basically the feet of the building. And again, joist hangers are called out, wooden floor truss is called out, etc., etc. We do have some places here where we're calling for a post, so that's picking up a divide in the roof girder truss, and you'll see, but that is intentionally coming down on those piers so we don't have to oversize these beams, that we can directly put that load into the concrete pier. And then, you know, that dining room bump out, so we consequently have the trusses that come out there. You can see here, I did a really quick truss schedule, so these are basically just outlining what the different truss lengths are and what my intention is, so that way there the truss manufacturer has something to check against. And I say not something to do, I say something to check against, because I'm not inferior to making mistakes, but I show my intent, and if their numbers don't match my numbers, then it's cause for a conversation, and in that conversation we'll figure out where the number went wrong. If their number matches my number, well, then we build them and we're on our way, and we both did our job well. So, but I always like to give a little truss schedule here. I didn't put in all the web members, but just basically giving the height of the truss. In this case, they're all 14 inches, but mostly the, what is that, horizontal length of each of those trusses. And then when the truss manufacturer makes it, they actually send us a shop drawing package where they have this laid out in far more definition so that I can then check their work to ensure that we're all on the same page. Out here on the front deck, you can see we did a series of treated 2x10 joists. Notice that the joists go in this direction. I didn't put a beam here and put them in that direction. That's intentional, because the direction of the joist is going to set the direction of the decking above. So when you're thinking about the design elements as far as how do I want that decking to go, I want to ensure that the proper framing is set in place so that I get what I want in terms of direction of decking. So in this case here, I wanted the decking to go the short distance. And so to do that meant that I had to provide the floor frame or the deck frame in the long direction here, which I did with 2x10s, and then we brought them to a couple girders there, and of course that one sits down at the bottom. But that's basically the floor frame. Again, you know, you have a bunch of dimensions here, and it just gives you what those overall dimensions are. Always good to check that out. If there's something that you have to call out, like the outer frame here, then I call out that, and put those extra words in the dimensions there. But yeah, short of that, I don't think, I mean, when I call out LVLs, you can see the 14-inch LVL matches the 14-inch of the wooden floor truss, but the framer needs to know, is that LVL underneath the floor trusses, or is it alongside or flush? So in this case, it's called, I wrote the word flush after each of the LVLs, so that way there the framer knows the placement of that beam relative to the floor frame. If I wanted it below, I would have called it out to be dropped. So anyways, I think that's everything we need to talk about floor framing. So check out that slideshow, always a treat, and until next time.